I showed up 15 minutes early, like always. My hands were still stained from work even after I scrubbed them at the shop sink. Didn't matter. I was proud of the job I'd wrapped up early. 68 Camaro rebuild, final tuning, done just in time. I thought maybe, just maybe, we'd have a decent night. Quiet dinner, just the two of us, like we used to do before everything started feeling off. The restaurant was one of those tucked-away Italian spots in Fairview. Nothing fancy but good food and no crowds. That's what I wanted. Simple, comfortable. I told Laura I'd meet her there instead of picking her up. Figured it'd give her time to get ready without me hovering. She was always particular about that. She walked in right on the dot, polished, poised, like she was stepping into a client dinner. Navy dress, heels, hair pinned just enough to look effortless. I stood to kiss her cheek, but she turned slightly, gave me the side instead. Not cold exactly, but not warm either. "Hey," I said. "Happy anniversary." "Yeah, you too," she said, smoothing her napkin onto her lap as she sat down. Her eyes scanned the restaurant like she was looking for someone. I tried not to read into it, but it didn't feel like she was looking for me. Quick note: before we get into it, share which city or country you're watching from. I picked up the wine list. "They've got that Pinot you liked last time. Want a glass?" She shrugged. "Sure. One's fine." She barely looked at me when she said it. Something was off. I thought maybe work stress. She'd had a brutal week pitching that new campaign. We were just settling in, deciding between the ravioli or chicken parm when the front door chimed again. I glanced up, and there he was. Tall, khakis, button-down shirt, rolled at the sleeves, like he was trying not to look like he was trying. Mark, from her marketing firm back in Chicago. Used to be her supervisor. She saw him before I could say anything. Her whole face changed. The way her spine straightened, the tilt of her head, the soft grin, it was like muscle memory. She waved, and he came over. "Laura," he said, grinning wide. "Didn't expect to see you here." "Mark, wow, it's been forever." She laughed, reaching up to touch his arm. "You're in town?" "Just passing through. Business trip." "Lucky me, huh?" I cleared my throat and half stood. "Matt, her husband." He shook my hand quickly. "Right, good to meet you." But Laura didn't even glance my way. She was already asking about his projects, smiling too much, laughing too hard. The waiter came to take our order, but Laura barely noticed. She was still turned toward Mark. When the server came back. I gave my order, lasagna, house red, then looked over at Laura. She didn't even flinch. The waiter hesitated, pen ready. I nudged her ankle under the table. She blinked, looked up like I'd interrupted a movie she was watching. "Oh, sorry. I'll have the gnocchi with pesto," she said. "And that Chianti, just one glass." The same gnocchi she'd been talking about for weeks. She sent me that menu on a Tuesday night, said it reminded her of our trip to Napa. I nodded, said nothing. What was I supposed to say? Nice choice? Mark gave a polite smile and excused himself. "Won't keep you two," he said, like he wasn't already 15 minutes too late. Laura watched him walk toward the bar and then picked up her phone, tapping at the screen like nothing had happened. I sat back, took a long drink of water, and scanned the place. There was a couple across the aisle, late 30s maybe, sharing a plate of something with forks tangled. She leaned close, he whispered something, and they both laughed. Another pair near the window had their hands resting between their plates, pinkies touching. The whole place buzzed with low voices and clinks of silverware. Comfort. Intimacy. The kind of easy warmth that used to sit between us like a third chair. I cleared my throat. "How was work this week?" Laura didn't look up. "Busy. Lots going on." "Still working on that fintech pitch?" "Mm-hmm." She scrolled her phone screen, thumb flicking fast. I watched her. "Did you get that promotion talk with Gina? Number? It's next week." She finally looked at me, but her eyes were somewhere else. I let that hang there, then leaned back as the waiter brought our drinks. I thanked him and took a long sip. The wine was dry and bitter, probably decent, but I didn't care. I just needed something in my hand. "Mark's moved up fast," I said, nodding toward the bar. "He's still in Chicago?" "Yeah, he's VP now, running strategy." "You two kept in touch?" She shrugged, eyes darting to the side. "Here and there, LinkedIn mostly." I didn't say anything, didn't need to. Mark turned slightly on his bar stool, caught Laura's eye. She smiled, raised her glass slightly, then turned back to me with a forced laugh like she remembered I was still here. "You okay?" she asked, like I was the one acting off. "I'm great," I said flatly. She looked like she was about to say something, but stopped, just adjusted her napkin again and looked toward the kitchen. I felt like a guest in my own damn dinner. Not even a guest, a background extra. Something was rotting here, slow and quiet. The food came, smelled amazing, but my appetite was gone. Laura took a bite and smiled faintly. It's good." "Yeah," I said. "That the one you were excited about?" She nodded. "Tastes different than I expected, but still good." Just like that, a moment we should have shared felt flat, scripted. I ate in silence, watching her face glow under the soft light as she smiled at memories I wasn't part of. Laura took another bite and glanced toward the bar again. Her eyes tracked Mark as he leaned forward, talking to the bartender, hand casually motioning through a story. She let out this small laugh under her breath. Not loud. Just enough to make it clear she was still tuned into him. I watched the way her hand slid across the table, brushing her wine glass as if she needed something to do with it. Months ago, that hand would have found mine halfway through dinner, even just for a second, a light touch, a small reach. Tonight, it stayed to herself. Perfectly folded napkin. Perfectly still. She shifted in her seat, crossed her legs toward the bar. I watched her ankle tilt, heel swinging slightly as she sipped from her glass and tucked her hair behind her ear. Polished, controlled, like she was on camera. The server came by, asking if we wanted anything else. I didn't even hesitate. "Yeah, another red, whatever's dry." He nodded and took the plates, and for a moment, I was glad for the noise of dishes clinking, the shuffle of footsteps, anything to break the silence between us. Laura didn't say a word. She pulled her phone out of her bag and tapped the screen. Notification flashed. She read it, quick and sharp, then flipped it face down against the table like it burned. She always did that when she didn't want me to see who it was. "You expecting someone?" I asked, not looking directly at her. She blinked. "What?" Text looked important. "It's nothing, just work." She kept her voice light, but the way she didn't meet my eyes told me everything. I took the second glass from the waiter and thanked him under my breath. Took a sip I didn't want. I wasn't drinking, I was numbing. "So," I said, clearing my throat, "your mom's still coming into town next weekend?" She gave a weak smile. "She changed her mind. Probably next month." "She tell you that this week?" "Tuesday." I nodded. I'd asked that question already. Tuesday night, in our kitchen, while she stirred pasta and barely answered me. Every word between us felt recycled. Old tape playing on loop. She picked at the edge of her napkin. "You're being quiet." "Just watching," I said. She raised an eyebrow. "Everyone else in here seems to be enjoying dinner." I didn't mean for it to land that hard, but it did. She glanced down at her plate like she didn't know what to say. I watched her reach for her phone again, hesitate, then stop. Something about the rhythm of the whole thing, check, read, flip, felt rehearsed. I used to know her patterns. Now I was studying them like a stranger. Mark stood and walked out the front door, phone to his ear. She followed him with her eyes, then stared down at the table. I caught her smile fading. This was supposed to be our anniversary, a night that meant something, but the only thing I felt now was distance, thick and quiet. And I knew then, something already shifted. Not tonight. Not because of Mark. Way before that. Laura twisted the stem of her wine glass, still watching the door like Mark might come back. I stared at her hand, that perfect French manicure she always kept up, and felt something crawl up my chest. Not rage, not even jealousy. Just that slow, thick burn you get when you finally admit to yourself that someone stopped trying a long time ago. I set my glass down and leaned in. My voice stayed low. "Are you here with me tonight, or is this just a distraction?" Her fingers froze mid-spin. She looked up, eyes sharp, mouth open just a second too long before she answered. "Relax," she said flatly, brushing hair from her face. "You're making this weird." That was the first real pause she gave me all night. The first sign that she actually heard something I said. But there was no apology in her voice, just that same cold detachment I'd been choking on for months. I didn't react right away, just nodded to myself. My jaw tightened, and I wiped my palms against my jeans under the table. You don't get to blow me off for 40 minutes and then act like I'm the problem, I said. I'm sitting across from you, trying to have a damn conversation, and you're halfway out the door every time you blink. She scoffed. Matt, you're being dramatic. This is dinner. That's it. I leaned back, folded my arms. It was our anniversary. She hesitated. I didn't forget. Sure doesn't feel like you remembered either. The table between us might as well have been a canyon. She shifted in her seat, eyes darting away like she couldn't decide where to land. You want to have some big conversation here, right now? She asked. I shrugged. Number, I don't. I wanted to have dinner with my wife and feel like she actually wanted to be here. She exhaled hard through her nose. I showed up. What more do you want? Respect, I said. That's it. If you don't want to give it, maybe this isn't the place for me anymore. She blinked, stunned for a beat. I wasn't raising my voice, wasn't throwing a fit. I just felt done. Like something in me had locked up and snapped clean all at once. I'm not going to sit here while you make eyes at your old boss and pretend like I'm overthinking it, I said. I'm not stupid. Laura looked around, suddenly aware that we weren't alone. She leaned in, voice quieter. Can you not do this here? I'm not doing anything, I said. You already did. Her mouth moved like she wanted to come back with something sharp, but she didn't. She just looked down, rubbing a napkin between her fingers. I sat there for a few more seconds, watching her avoid me, then pushed my chair back slowly. Not loud, not rushed, just done. She looked up. Where are you going? I shook my head. Nowhere tonight, just not playing this game anymore. I stood and left enough cash on the table to cover mine. Then I sat back down. I wasn't storming out. I wasn't giving her that. I wasn't giving her anything else at all. We ate the rest of the meal in silence. I drained the last of my wine, didn't even taste it going down. The silence between us had thickened to the point where every clink of silverware felt like a gunshot. The server came by, half smiling like he wasn't sure if we were a couple in a fight or strangers forced to share a table. Can I get you folks anything else? Just the check, I said, not looking up. He brought it over a minute later. I pulled my wallet, set down cash to cover mine. I didn't ask if she wanted to split. I didn't care. She didn't even reach for her purse. We stood at the same time, no words, no thanks, no goodnight. I walked toward the front without checking if she was behind me. I could feel her watching my back the whole way, like she was waiting for me to stop, turn, say something soft to make it okay again. But I didn't. The door swung shut behind us, and the air outside hit cooler than I expected. I headed toward the car, keys already in hand. Her heels clicked behind me, steady, sharp. She didn't say anything until I reached the driver's side and opened the door. Matt, she said, just loud enough to cut through the crickets and the distant hum of traffic. I didn't look at her. I slid into the seat and shut the door. A second later, the passenger side opened. She climbed in slowly, like the whole situation might still be salvageable if she moved carefully enough. Can we talk? I shook my head once. That was it. No words left. I turned the key and the engine rolled over, smooth and quiet, just like the rest of the ride. She waited 30 seconds before trying again. It wasn't like that with Mark, she said. I kept my eyes on the road. We were just catching up, that's all. The stoplight ahead turned yellow, then red. I eased to a stop and watched it like it was the only thing worth looking at. Laura sighed, then laughed a little under her breath. This is ridiculous. You're being ridiculous. I didn't flinch. The light turned green. I hit the gas, kept going. Every mile we drove was another mile I felt further from her. She shifted in her seat, arms crossed, watching me like I was the one who changed, like I was the one who'd turned into a stranger. The radio stayed off. The road noise was the only thing filling the space between us, and that suited me just fine. I didn't say a single word all the way home. I wasn't angry, I wasn't cold, I was done. I pulled into the driveway and shut off the engine, just sitting there for a minute. The porch light was still on, probably set on a timer. Laura didn't say anything as we got out. She just walked ahead, let herself in, and disappeared down the hall like this was any regular night. Like we hadn't just sat through a dinner that scraped the bottom of whatever was left between us. I dropped my keys on the counter and slid my phone out of my pocket, set it face down. Didn't even want to see the screen light up. The house was quiet, no TV, no music, no movement. just the hum of the fridge and the creak of old wood beneath my boots. It felt good, familiar, like something I'd been missing without realizing it. Then the vibration started. Buzz, buzz, I didn't flip it over. Buzz. I walked to the sink, filled a glass of water, and leaned back against the counter while I drank. Buzz. I finally turned the phone over. Laura. You made that weird. I let out a breath through my nose. Not a laugh, not anger, just Jesus. I locked the screen again and set it back down. Buzz. Laura. You're acting like a child. Stop being dramatic. I stared at the message, thumb hovering over the screen. My jaw tightened. I knew where this was going. Every time she didn't want to own something, this was the play. Make me the unstable one, the emotional one, the one who can't just let things go. More buzzing. Laura. I said I was sorry, Laura. You embarrassed me. Laura, over nothing. Laura. Seriously, Matt? I let the screen dim again. Sat down at the kitchen table and just stared at the blank wall across from me. She didn't care what happened tonight. Not really. She just hated not having control of the narrative. I picked up the phone, unlocked it, and opened the messages. My fingers hovered for a second, then I typed, me. I asked for respect. Sent. That was it. I locked the screen and set it back down, face down again. Let it buzz all it wanted, but it didn't. No reply, no comeback, no guilt trip, just silence. And for once, I didn't feel the need to fix it. I leaned back, let the chair creak under me, and closed my eyes. The quiet felt better than anything we'd said to each other in months. Not peaceful, not happy, just real. And I'll take real over pretending any day. I woke up before the sun came through the blinds. No alarm. No noise, just this heavy stillness in my chest that wasn't sadness. Not exactly. Just clarity. The kind that doesn't come loud. I sat up, feet hitting the cold floor. For a minute, I just stared at the closet, then stood, pulled out a duffel, and started packing. Nothing big, just what I needed. Jeans, flannel shirts, a few tools I always kept close, my shaving kit, a worn paperback I never finished. I didn't feel rushed. I wasn't running. I was leaving, yeah, but I was doing it on my terms. I scribbled a note on the pad by the fridge, taking the weekend. Don't call. That was all. The house didn't argue. It let me go. I loaded up the truck and hit the road. Just me and the hum of the tires under an overcast sky, the kind that made everything feel a little more honest. The cabin was a couple hours out, tucked between a ridge and some woods outside Ash Fork. Nothing fancy. Just 4 walls, a bed, a wood stove, and a porch. Perfect. I unlocked the door and stepped inside, breathing in that dry, untouched air. The kind you only get from a place that's been left alone. I dropped my bag on the floor and stood there for a second. No sound, no phone buzzing, no sideways looks across a table. I opened the windows, let the breeze through. Pulled a chair out to the porch and sat for a while. No music, no news, just trees and space. By midday, I'd unpacked what I needed and set my phone on silent. It stayed face down. I made coffee the old-fashioned way, pot on the stove, no machine, and drank it standing barefoot on the cold wooden floor. That's when I realized how long it had been since I'd moved through a day at my own speed. Not reacting to someone, not adjusting. I wasn't angry, not anymore. I was just done with being uncomfortable in my own life. Around lunch, I made a couple calls. One to my bank, checking the balance, moving some savings around. One to my brother, who I hadn't talked to in a while. Told him I was taking some time and might need a hand with a storage unit. He didn't ask questions, just said, whatever you need. Last call was to my buddy Clay from the shop. Told him I'd be off Monday, maybe Tuesday too. He grunted and said, do what you gotta do. That was it. No long explanations, no permission asked. I pulled a crate from the closet, found some firewood, and got the stove going. The crackle of flame filled the room like a heartbeat. I sat down with my book and read 3 pages before realizing I wasn't even reading. I was just sitting there, still. And it felt good. Not exciting, not life-changing, just solid. Like I was finally taking the first real breath in months. And I didn't miss her, not even a little. I stayed at the cabin 3 days. No calls, no texts. I kept the phone off and the fire going. Didn't bring it back to life until I pulled into the driveway the Thursday afternoon. The house looked smaller than I remembered. Not physically, just the weight of it, the tension that lived inside it. I parked in front like it wasn't mine anymore. Walked in through the front door with a cardboard box under my arm and a list in my head. Not a single part of me hesitated. Laura wasn't in the living room, but her shoes were by the door, her coat draped over the back of a chair. She was home. I didn't care. I went straight to the bedroom and opened the closet, grabbed the jeans that still fit me right, the shirts I wore most. Couple sweatshirts, the old leather jacket from my 20s that she used to roll her eyes at. Bathroom next, just what I needed, razor, toothbrush, meds, nothing else. Then the drawer under the bed. Pulled out the photo tin. A few old prints from when we first started dating. A couple from road trips, one from my dad's fishing cabin before it burned down. Those were mine. Next was the box from the hallway closet, the one with the letters. Some were from her. Some were from my mom, my brother, even a few I never opened. Didn't matter. I wanted them. I worked room by room, slow and steady, no rush, no guilt, no reason to explain myself. I wasn't gutting the place. I wasn't being cruel. I was taking my life back, the pieces I'd actually chosen. The kitchen was last. A few tools, my thermos, that stupid mug with the chipped handle that somehow survived every move. When I stepped outside with the last box, the air felt thick. Storm clouds were rolling in from the west. Laura was standing in the doorway. She didn't say anything at first, just watched me walk past her with the box in my hands. Her face was calm, but her eyes were working overtime. She was hurt, confused, maybe even scared. But I didn't stop walking. I opened the tailgate and slid the box in, next to the others. "Matt," she finally said. I turned just enough to see her in the corner of my vision. Didn't meet her eyes. "You're just leaving?" I nodded once. "Yeah." "That's it?" I shut the tailgate. "What more is there?" "I think we should talk," she said. "You can't just—" "I already did," I cut in. She flinched like I'd slapped her. For a second I thought she might argue, push harder, demand something, but she didn't. She just stood there with her arms crossed, trying to hold herself together. I walked past her, back inside, grabbed a pen from the counter and scribbled a note. "Your things are safe. Arrange a time to collect them. Matt." I set it on the coffee table and didn't look back. No begging, no rehashing, no deals. This wasn't a conversation anymore. I stepped out, shut the door behind me, and walked to the truck like it was any other errand. When I got in and started the engine, she was still standing there, same spot, still waiting for something that wasn't coming. I didn't wave, didn't nod. I backed out of the driveway and pulled onto the street, and I never once looked in the mirror. The first few days felt strange. Not bad. Just still. I'd wake up, make coffee, and sit in my own damn kitchen without waiting for her mood to set the tone for the day. People noticed. Clay pulled me aside at the shop. "You good, man?" "Better than I've been in a while," I told him. He nodded. Didn't ask for details. Didn't need to. Friends started reaching out. Guys I hadn't heard from in months. One invited me to a weekend fishing trip. Another texted about rebuilding a Harley he picked up for dirt cheap. I said yes to both. Nobody said her name. I didn't either. Laura kept trying at first. Messages started piling up. "We should talk. I didn't realize how bad it felt to you. You could have said something. We can fix this." Then came the guilt. "I gave you everything. You're throwing it all away. You'll regret this." I didn't respond. Not once. Her friends tried to. One called, said Laura was devastated, and I owed her a conversation. I hung up halfway through that one. I wasn't bitter. I just didn't owe anyone anything anymore. The quiet wasn't empty. It was clean. I started fixing things I'd put off for years. Repainted the garage door, tuned up my old truck, brought out the guitar that used to sit in the back of the closet. My hands were stiff, but the chords came back. I didn't realize how many pieces of myself I'd shelved just to keep the peace. Now they were mine again. A couple weeks in, the messages stopped. Hers, her friends, all of it. Like they finally accepted I wasn't playing along anymore. Some mornings I'd think about her, not with hate, just distance. Like remembering a place I used to live that didn't feel like home. I didn't regret walking away. I regretted staying as long as I did. But now, every day felt like mine, fully mine. No edits, no rehearsed lines, No sideways glances across a dinner table, wondering who she wished was sitting there instead. And that was peace I hadn't known in years.